Hey gang, do you find yourself listening to your music on one app and then listening to your podcast on another app? If you do, stop this insane behavior right now and download Spotify. Spotify is home to all of your favorite music and all of your favorite podcasts. Podcasts including Fly on the Wall, the Saturday Night Live podcast with Dana Carvey and David Spade, the Rock on Tours podcast with Gary Kemp and Guy Pratt, old favorites like Fresh Air, My Favorite Murder, Wait, Don't Tell Me. Look, if you're looking for a news podcast or sports or entertainment or true crime, look, if you're looking for a sewing podcast or an RV podcast, Spotify has all of this for you. That's Spotify. All of your favorite music and all of your favorite podcasts in one place. Find it in your app store and start listening today. That's Spotify, music and podcasts. Let's get down. Hey gang, it's Johnny. I just want to take a second to talk to you guys about engagement. Right now you're listening to the show and I'm not sure exactly what platform you're listening to it on. But whatever platform you're listening to it on, you can subscribe to it and get an alert every time a new show drops, usually every Tuesday and every Friday. New shows every Tuesday and every Friday. Whatever platform you're listening on, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher, any platform, you can subscribe to it. And if you can leave a comment, leave a star, share it on your social media if it's something that you like, please do that. We encourage you to do that. And also, as far as social media goes, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I am at Johnny Gowdy on Instagram and Twitter. Give us a follow. Also, you can like our Facebook page. How did I get here? Please do. Anyway, all I want to say is, you like a show, share it, use the hashtag How Did I Get Here Pod. We'll give you a shout out. Thank you so much for listening to the show and engage. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host, Johnny Gowdy.
When we talked,
All right. Hello. I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. Also, Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you guys all had a very, very Merry Christmas. That it all worked out for you. That you were able to get out and see family without Rona insanity, which is what happened to me. Now, I'll tell you, I went to Houston to go spend a week there. I was going there for 8 days. That was my jam. I'm going to go there. I'm going to hang out. My cousin Megan came in from New York with her son Max. I don't get to see them a lot, so I got to spend a whole week with them, and I'm really lucky I got to do that. They were staying with my grandma, who's 99 years old, needs a lot of care. To get up and go to the bathroom, she needs a person. Like, she needs a person for everything she does at this point, right? Total care package. And my Aunt Olga does most of that caretaking. She lives with my grandma. So I got in Sunday. We had a nice time hanging out. We got up Monday. A bunch of family members came over. We did some Christmas craft stuff. I didn't really do much crafting. It was raining. There was a lot of dogs there, and it was getting crazy. So anyway, people hung out. We talked, had dinner, did everything. Everyone went home. And the next morning, my Aunt Olga tested positive for coronavirus. And so she had to go to a room for 5 days. Boom. She's in a room 5 days. Then me and my cousin Megan are taking care of the baby, the 4 dogs, and the grandma and the aunt. And my Aunt Christina came. She hung out for a night. That was cool. But she woke up the next day, Rona. She goes home. So me and Megan are testing negative the whole time, luckily. My cousin Emily comes in. We have a birthday celebration. Find out that my cousin Eric and his wife Tessa have the Rona. So we have decided at this point we're calling off Christmas. At the same time, an insane cold front is coming down, and my Aunt Olga had planned. She's got an insane array of plants in her backyard that she'd been working on for years. And so these plants need to be protected. So the only way to do that was to build look, I was building a greenhouse with my cousin Megan out of, tarps and umbrellas. It kind of worked. And heat lamps. It did. It kind of worked. There was a lot of wind. It didn't totally work. Some plants that were near places where the wind was getting through got the frostbite, but the other ones, some of them lived. So there you go, man. All right. So anyway, so that whole thing went down. It was nuts. And then Christmas Eve morning, this guy comes over and gives us all tattoos. My aunt got us tattoos for Christmas. So me and my aunt Olga, my cousin Emily, and my cousin Megan all got tattoos. I got a heart on my shoulder, and so did my aunt Olga. She got it on her shoulder too. So now we got shoulder tattoos. Anyway, it was a good Christmas. It was nice spending time with my loved ones, but it was a very hectic Christmas. It was a caretaking Christmas, and it sort of set in this reality that you get to this point in your life, like I'm 54, right? At this point, the people that used to run Christmas and stuff like that, they're not as happening as they once were. They're all human. They're kind of retired. They're kind of zany, and you know, those kind of things. They it's life. I'm not depressed. I'm not sad about it. You know, it is sad. You don't want people to get old and move on, but it's part of life and you have to deal with it. So this Christmas was a glaring example that things have changed, things are changing, and the next generation's getting a little weaker, you know, just, you know, slowing down a little bit. And it's time to pick up the slack there in the family. So that's what I was there doing this week. I was picking up the slack with my cousins and my aunt, and we had a good time. We actually had a nice Christmas. We had a nice Christmas Eve dinner. One night I made baked ziti. Everybody loved it. I made a picadillo for Christmas Eve. That wasn't so great. And I came back Christmas Day in the afternoon. Anyway, it was a fun time being with my family. It was a really good time, but it was a very heightened intensity time. That's what I'll say. It was a very intense visit. And I guess it's like that with my family anyway. Just you notice it more when you got a lot more to do involvement-wise. So that was what my Christmas was like. Hopefully you guys had like regular Christmases. But there was supposed to be all kinds of festivities. We were supposed to have a big thing. And, you know, we couldn't do that. So anyway, that was my Christmas. I hope you guys had a good Christmas. Listen, I want to let you guys know that Skyrocket is playing this Saturday, December 31st, New Year's Eve in Houston. We're doing a special early show. We're playing 7 to 9. We wanted to do the regular, you know, midnight thing, but the Suffers are playing, one of Houston's biggest bands, one of the biggest bands in Texas, really. And so they're going to flip the house. Skyrocket's going to play 7 to 9 at Last Concert Cafe, and then I think the Suffers go on at like 10:30 or something. But man, get tickets. Come on out. Check it out. Go to skyrockettheband.com. There's tickets available there. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Skyrocket the band, baby. Find us. Get involved. Gang, I have a great show for you guys today. Guitar slinger, singer-songwriter, traveler, Michael O'Connor is my guest on the show today. Man, I've had what a great conversation we had together. He's lived here in Texas for a long time. In fact, he's got a star on the South Texas Music Walk of Fame in Corpus Christi, right there along with Selena and Johnny Canales. You got it, baby. Anyway, he's lived all over the place. He has lived in Austin at times. He's been here in Austin for a while doing some shows with Slaid Cleaves. He was doing shows with Pat Byrne and doing some solo shows and stuff. And I ran into him at the Halloween show Jeff Plankenhorn had at Saxon Pub. And I was like, hey, man, why don't you come on the show? And he's like, sure. We were both on that gig. And so finally we worked it out. He came over earlier in the month, but he was going out to do a bunch of stuff. But he is playing this Thursday, December 29th at the Continental Club Gallery with our dear friend Bonnie Whitmore. His, I don't know, his last record, which was called Burning Midnight, fantastic record, came out in 2019. Hopefully he's got a brand new record coming out. You can find him playing all of these great places around Texas. I think he's probably going to be here for a little while longer doing more shows, but you can definitely see him this Thursday, December 29th at the Continental Club Gallery. And enjoy my conversation with Michael O'Connor, this amazing guitarist, singer-songwriter. Also, you can find him at mocmusic.com, mocmusic.com. Enjoy my conversation with this incredible talent. And I'm back, baby. I'm back. I'm back. Let's get down.
Mama slung drinks at the party down. For a cold water flat above the
I was creeping on your Instagram and I saw your love for Love Gun.
Oh, I love Kiss, man.
Yeah.
Sure, I grew up with all that. I'm 56, so I was
Right, I'm
10 years
54.
old in 76, man. So I was like,
Perfect, right?
yeah, I ate it up, man. I ate it up. I still do.
You're scoot up on that mic
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, I still love that stuff, man.
Me too, man. I started the podcast and Kiss would come up, and then people would write. And there's a couple of people, and they'd write me and be like, "Hey, do you? How much do you like Kiss? Oh, I love them, man. What's your address?" And then now I have all these fucking toys. Yeah,
Awesome, man.
I got some rubber duckies.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was a kid, HBO had a Kiss concert.
Yes.
So I begged my grandparents to get HBO for a month, man. So I don't know how I did that, but I did.
So funny, man. My uncle and I have an uncle that's 4 years older than me. But we went through the Kiss thing together, and that was around the time of the bubblegum cards.
Sure, I had all those.
Yeah. And so it's so funny because sometimes I feel like I need to do like more round tables about certain bands. And Kiss is like one where you just need to get a bunch of dudes our age to just like work it out.
Yeah, work it out. Yeah. And I'm still guilty of following their drama and everything that's going on.
Me
with
too.
Them, you know. Yeah, I haven't listened to a record. I haven't bought a record or listened to a record in a long time, but just curious to see what it's about. For some reason, I can't give that up. You know,
dude, I had a one of the most positive like experiences during the 2020 lockdown in the summer. I learned Love Gun from Paul Stanley on YouTube. That was bitching.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was started giving lessons, but then he also
you learned it from him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
that was
awesome.
one of my favorite days.
Ah, so cool.
Then he has a soul band, and he was doing those things that people were doing the videos where everyone was a part, like with the a cappella thing. And he did "Ooh Baby Baby" by Smokey Robinson, and he just had this whole speech where he just kind of like the anti Paul Stanley. He's like, "Man, we're all under lockdown. This has been hard on all of us. Just look inside yourself to find the peace." And the love." Fucking launches into this song, and I'm just sitting cross-legged on my bed, just sobbing. It was like the best musical experience of my whole lockdown.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Yeah, I follow them too. Did you watch that History thing?
I loved it. Yeah, thought it was great,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, I thought it
Me
was
too.
great.
I thought it was sad that they weren't on there. Here's the things that I thought were sad. The other thing was I didn't like Gene doing the voices of the dudes, especially since they weren't interviewed.
Yeah, they weren't even on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of mean.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of a mean guy, right?
He is a mean guy.
I like the footage of them playing in the clubs, though. That was pretty exciting
Always.
to see. They kind of had their whole thing going already.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the songs didn't change that much from what we heard to what they were playing in the bars.
No, and even like the
moves, everything,
their synchronized moves, like stayed true all the way through Kiss Alive too.
Yeah.
It's funny how much joy those guys bring.
It's amazing,
isn't
man.
it?
Yeah.
Also, one of them is the world's biggest asshole. One of the world's biggest assholes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Man.
All right, dude. I was going through your stuff and for the last few days, and Burning Midnight. That's your last album, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Fucking great album.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Man. Thank you.
How do you categorize your music? Because
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's what they always ask you. You have to put these things. What do you know?
You know what I did years ago in the time of MySpace? There was an option for French pop. And I thought that was the coolest sounding fucking thing. So I put it on there. And it's on tons of my shit.
That's
now.
funny,
Yeah.
man. That's
funny. Lasted. But what do you, I mean.
I don't know, man. You know, it's got blues in it. It's got folk in it. I guess it's just American.
I think it's rock and roll.
That's kind of what I always come down to. It's rock and roll because I'm playing electric guitar.
Yeah.
It's reckless. It's not perfect. You know, I like the jaggedness and mistakes and stuff. So it's rock and roll music.
That's what this is exactly. You know when I got the vibe, your rock and roll stems from Faces Stones.
Yeah, I love the Stones for sure. Open G, a lot of Open G stuff. And like, you crunch an electric guitar and Open G, and you're going to be compared to the Stones. It's hard not to, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up with listening to everything, man. You know, all kinds of music. Disco, hard rock, whatever. I ate it up. I watched Lawrence Welk show every week because
I used to.
There was an
and
MTV.
Hee-Haw, too.
Yeah, so it came on right after.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
Well, I lived in Houston off and on throughout
Corpus
my life.
Christi. Yeah. So same thing.
I saw that you got a star on the South Texas Music Walk of Fame.
It was a big honor. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, I think that day
Johnny
was.
Canales is there, dude.
Yeah, Selena, Chris
Selena.
Christopherson, all kinds of folks. It was Pawnee Bone, Terry Hendricks, me, and a few other artists that got it that year. Yeah, it was pretty cool. For a hometown guy, it was kind of cool to go back and.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
My high school counselor was wrong, man. You know, Mrs. Galvan told me not to be a musician. You know,
what did she say you should be?
Learn a trade is what she told me. You know,
that's one of those things that they used to do to English people.
Music
like, hey,
is
you're
a trade.
dumb. Go.
Yeah, exactly.
Go hammer something.
Exactly. What's funny is I learned later, Mrs. Galvan, the Galvan brothers, Galvan Music, she was married into a family that had an orchestra in Corpus Christi all through the 40s and 50s. Very famous family down there. So it was all musicians, man, that she had married into. So maybe she was trying to give me some good advice. Probably. I think you should tell people not to do it, because if they listen to you, then they probably shouldn't have done it, you know. But if you push through it, I mean, no one was going to tell me no. I'd made up my mind when I was 8 years old. I worked when I was a teenager and I haven't had a job. But my whole goal has been not to have a job, I guess, basically, is why I was playing music. You know, so just to not join up the 9 to 5.
You didn't start out to get laid?
I really didn't, man. I really didn't. I hear that a lot, dude. Yeah. I really didn't, man. I was such a fan of music. I wanted to be around music and next to music.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I had that too, but there was a magical moment where my mom had been making me take guitar lessons for like a year, and I was like 13, and I went with all these older kids in Miami to go see Cheap Trick. And when we were leaving, this 16-year-old girl that I had a crush on was like, I'd sleep with that dude because that guy plays guitar and sings. And I was like, wait a minute, I fucking play guitar. Yeah. You know what I mean? This, someone just handed me the key, my mom, which is creepy.
I didn't.
But you wanted to be around music.
I wanted to be around it. Yeah, it didn't take long though, as you get older, to realize, this can attract people to you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go back. So you're in Corpus Christi. What were your parents? Were they into music?
It's a weird story. I always tell everyone my parents were married when I was born, but they weren't married to each other. So I was a product of an affair. And my parents left me with my mother's grandparents, and they disappeared for 10 years or so, you know. So I didn't know my parents till I was growing up a little bit more. It was a weird introduction into the world, too, you know, to be a product of an affair and... You know, it's 1960s South. Yeah, secret thing, you know, and they ran off. So they both left their families and ran off together to go party and go to Houston and go to Willie Nelson concerts.
And it's still with your grandparents? So there was that time. My parents were young in that era. And
yeah,
they were responsibility was not a thing.
No, and I get it. Now as an adult, I totally get it. They were both married to other people, and my mom had a son, my brother Brad, and my dad had two daughters who I just discovered through Facebook and stuff about 10 years ago. I found these two sisters that we didn't know about each other and stuff. So I was raised by my grandparents in Corpus. Music was my brother was playing gigs when he was in junior high school and into high school with a family friend, and my grandmother hated it. You know, the bars and cigarettes. That was going to be the death of us. You know. And so they worked hard to move me out of the bad part of town. And as I got older, I just ran right back to it as quick as I could. So my brother playing music wanted me to be around it. And I would get to go to his gigs and see him play and stuff. So that's kind of how I got started on playing guitar. And Sid Sanchez, who's a guitar player here in Austin, I hang out with a lot. He was my guitar teacher down in Corpus. So he got me started. I had some good teachers.
He was?
Yeah, I had a few good teachers down in Corpus, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you know JJ Nelson?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we all know JJ Nelson.
Yeah, I played a lot of shows for JJ, man. My favorite thing was just to give him a hard time, dude, all the time. And he just laughed. That was my deal with JJ, is just to rib him as much as I could, man, because he was Mr. Cool, you know. But yeah, I love JJ, man.
He was cool. He was cool. He was like the mayor of Corpus. When I first met him, I must have been like 1990 or something when I first went down there to play.
Yeah, Cantina.
The Cantina Santa Fe.
He had this big house. It had these. I called it JJ Nelson's Home for Wayward Girls, because there were just random women living there, and musicians would come in every weekend, a different band. And
he put you up there.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
If he didn't put you at that Harbor, what was the 2-story place? Harbor Inn?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, JJ's good people. He gave me some of my very first gigs down there for sure. And I remember when I first played Cantina, I thought, all right, it's funny how you mark things, you know, but I was like, all right, I'm going to make it, man. I'm doing good. I'm playing Cantina and not the pizza joint, you know.
Right,
whatever.
right.
Yeah. Man, if that place could talk, that building could qualify for the witness protection program. I guarantee it, man, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sweet door lady, and she sold weed.
Yeah.
I guess it's Been a long time.
Yeah, there was
I don't
more
think
than that
anyone's
being
gonna
sold
miss it.
out of that building too. Probably.
Luckily, I wasn't hip to that then when I got there, but I do remember that was one of those things that you're like, oh, cool, because you'd play there if you came in from out of town. You played there like 3 days.
What? That's right. What band were you playing with down there?
I was in a band called Panjandrum at first, which if you need a visual just to see what
You look like the
funk
guys that
rock
were-
band from Houston looked
That looks like guys that play in Cantina in '90 for sure.
exactly,
Man.
dude, exactly. And Mr. Rocket Baby.
Oh, great! I remember
was a
that
band from
name.
here.
Yeah.
And with my own band, Johnny Gowdy.
Yeah.
And then then he started doing like ballyhoos and all these weird. Oh, we opened for a Kiss tribute band. In like 1995, it was before they got back together. Before the makeup. So when the tribute band, like seeing, I think they were called Destroyer or something like that. But we opened for
Oh,
one
at
there.
JJ's Club?
At JJ's Club.
I was at that gig. Yeah.
That's awesome.
What band opened up?
It was Johnny Gowdy.
Yeah,
it was
so I saw you.
Kyle Schneider, who plays with Ray Wiley now,
Yeah.
and Einar Peterson. You know him?
No, but that's a small world, man. I was at that gig, man. Yeah, it's funny. So
It was packed.
The Gene Simmons was really good in that band.
He was
too.
great.
Yeah, I remember that.
We ran into the Peter Criss guy in the parking lot of the hotel the next day, and it was weird. It was one of those things where you're not Peter Criss, man.
Yeah.
Like, he had personality confusion.
Wow, that's a really strange thing to do, right?
Yeah, it was weird.
The whole thing's kind of weird, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It seemed like he had bought into it in this weird way. And the night before, we were all drunk and very stoned, and so
Yeah.
we had access to them. So, in this weird way, we were like just getting off on like talking to what we were pretending was
Yeah.
Kiss.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, we were like, "No, dude, hey, that was last night."
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool, right? and he was wearing a jacket that had a painting of the Peter Criss solo.
Yeah,
album.
he was not going to stop.
It's not going to stop. Okay, so you're there, you're doing the stuff. When you started playing, like what did you like? What was it like? How did you start playing? Did you start a band? Did you get asked to join a band? What happened?
Yeah, I was always the youngest guy in the band for a long time. Now I look around, I'm the oldest guy in the band. But blues, man. We were playing Fabulous Thunderbirds and R&B and blues and oldies and stuff,
Yeah.
And then we had a band called Silent Slim that had a horn section and stuff. We didn't care about money. It's a 6-piece band. We're all young and so we had a big band and we did pretty good. We played a lot down there. That band stayed really busy. And then we would come up to Austin just to play in Austin and lose money because we could make decent bread playing for the tourists, in Corpus. But we'd travel up here and try to break in up here in the 80s, just playing Joe's Generic Bar or whatever we could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But blues and R&B. And then when I left that band, then I just started kind of sidemanning with tourist bands, playing whatever, man. Country music, bluegrass music. I put a tuxedo on one night and overalls the next night. And, I just said yes to everything. And if I couldn't do it, I would take that week and study and get good enough to maybe get by on the gig or whatever, just.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were in Corpus at that point?
Yeah. Yeah. And I moved to Austin the first time, around 91 or 92.
Me too.
And again, man, I could make more money down south, so I'd come up here and try to stick it out and lick my wounds and go back. And I moved back and forth a few times,
What was the place that was on the same side of the street as Joe's Generic Bar and all that? It was around for a little while, and like Will Sexton had his 21st birthday.
I remember
there.
the Black Cat.
The Black Cat, but there was another place, and it had blues, and it was shit. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's all a blur.
I know it's just a blur.
That's when you could go down on 6th Street and walk around and have fun and drink a beer, and wasn't quite as crazy as it. I don't go down there anymore, but
Me neither, man.
yeah.
It's kind of terrifying. I
is,
used to go down to Esther's Follies a lot. Like over the last 10 years, but like before the pandemic. But since the pandemic lifted, I haven't really gone out and done that. There was a cool scene like that in the 90s, and then another one like 10 years ago with a lot of really great comics here.
Yeah. It seems to be a lot of comics coming back here now, too. A lot's going on with that. But yeah, so we would travel up and try to play Austin and San Antonio and then go back. And, having a big band like that was tough, man. I was in my 20s and trying to book and run 6 other guys was,
Oh, God.
it got crazy.
Yeah.
So that's why I just kind of started being a sideman and playing guitar for whoever would have me. And
You know what's? Can I ask you this? Because as the person that you were obviously like the leader of your band, right?
yeah, by necessity.
By necessity, yeah. I mean, me too. But like, it's because you want it most, and it's
That's
difficult to be surrounded by people that you're like, you're not going to be doing this in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they're late or they're drinking. I mean, I don't mean to sound like a fuddy-duddy, but, be on time, man. Do whatever you want to do, but be ready to play.
I knew that about even that band.
Yeah.
Like, I just knew.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of just want to surround yourself with like-minded people, But
Yeah.
when you're in your hometown and, I felt I should stick around till my grandmother passed. I was kind of, and I was wild as hell back then, man. I partied and like crazy. And I mean, one year we did 300. I did 348 gigs down there in Corpus. Playing
In Corpus?
Yeah, tourist gigs, setting up PA, playing. Yeah. And after that, you can see my calendar. Then the next month just drops off to nothing because I was killing myself. Those are 4-hour.
Yeah.
Set up your PA, tear down your PA gig. You're doing 2 and 3 a day sometimes.
And you were doing it on your own or with a band?
With different bands and with
different
my
bands.
band and whoever. Yeah.
I had that effect on you, I bet, like the same thing as those, everybody talks about it, the Reaper Bond shows for the Beatles, where you go there and you just come out being fucking great.
Well, I don't know that I'm great, but I sure learned to play a lot of different kinds of music, man. And we learned on the bandstand, songs.
That's what I'm saying. Is when you're learning,
you get your reps in, man.
You get your reps in.
Yeah, for sure.
It's more than practice for some reason. You still got to practice, but there's something about being on stage that accelerates your.
12 hours
growth.
a day, playing 3 or 4
Jesus.
gigs, then you're getting your reps in. And I was playing with a guy that's still down there performing. Mike Guetta is his name. Talented, super great musician, and he played everything, man. We could do a country gig, we could do a jazz gig, we could do a Tejano gig, we did whatever, man. So I learned a lot from being in that band because I had to play cumbias and stuff that I was just out of my element in. But they were cool with me, and you'll get it. Follow the snare drum. They tell me, and I just learn on the bandstand.
What were you like in that time? Like, say when you first moved up here in 91, 92, what were you listening to? Like, what were you gravitating towards? What did you want to do?
I was starting to get into the songwriter kind of thing out of the you remember back then everyone was playing the blues, man. The blues were everywhere.
Oh God, yeah. I wanted to move from here because of that. And
Yeah.
nothing against the blues. It was just
man.
like I was like, can anybody here like go to like
where's the 3-chord, dude?
or minor chord of something.
Yeah, I just it ate my brain, man, playing that stuff. And I loved playing it and I got good at it and had fun. But it ate my brain, man.
Yeah.
So I started leaning towards the songwriter kind of people, and that kind of started tickling my ear and getting me interested in trying to write songs. And
when you were growing up and you were saying, like, there's something about that 70s stuff, and I talk about like the summer that you were like 10 years old, 1976, there was like there was this Love Will Keep Us Together and like Silly Love Songs and like Philadelphia Freedom that are
great.
these songs that if you go back and kind of dissect them now as a songwriter, you're like, oh, they took 4 or 5 hooks.
yeah. That bass line on Philadelphia Freedom blows me away, man.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I was listening to when I was in 76. Elton John, Aerosmith.
Yeah, that's what we were all listening to.
All that stuff, yeah. And like you said, we watched Hee Haw because there wasn't music on television.
Joel Captain and Tennille had that,
Yeah, that's
like
right.
I'm defending him. Donnie and Marie.
No, I watched
those
all
were the
those
things
shows.
that I love the most outside of $6 Million Man.
And then if you got to stay up the midnight special, it was a big deal, you know, to see that. So it was just anything that had music on it, I was about. Chet Atkins being on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really prejudiced against different kinds of music. Now, probably with my friends, I did admit everything that I listened to because I didn't want to take the heat. But I listened to disco. I love music. I just love music, you know.
Yeah, me too. Do you remember, like, in that time, you said you would, like, stuff you wouldn't tell your friends you listened to, because there was this sort of thing where, like, the kind of music that you listened to, or the band that was your band, like Kiss or something like that, became, like, your identity, was part of your, like, I'm part of this, like, we're part of this, and, you go ahead and like whoever,
Yeah, yeah.
Sean Cassidy. I was trying to think of someone lame from that time.
Yeah, and then Urban Cowboy came out, and then half of my friends were redneck overnight.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Yeah. The kickers in the heads.
Yeah. So probably like, Donna Summer and stuff that I would totally jam out to. I wouldn't admit that I was listening to that on the radio,
I was buying that stuff.
Yeah,
I bought
good
that,
for you, man.
expensive 4 or 3 disc Donna Summer Live and More. Good for you, man.
Yeah. No, good for you for having the nerve to do that, man. I was just listening to it on the radio, Yeah, you just had a few dollars to buy records, man. So it was a big deal to buy a record back
Really
then.
big deal.
Yeah.
Especially like those Kiss ones and stuff. And that when those 4 came out, you had to choose. Luckily, I was an Ace guy and had the right
that was the right one,
guy
huh?
from the get-go,
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
It's so funny that like dudes can start singing like "Rip It Out" and stuff like that. Like they're like those guys were down. Yeah. That's the thing is I feel like, and I'm not trying to old guy this shit, but there is sort of a different relationship that a fan has with music now in the world that we kind of live in. Like when we did the Halloween show,
so fun,
super fun.
Yeah,
those people are music fans.
Yeah.
Like those people, it means something to them to be in the same room as their favorite artist.
Yeah, it was fun, man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But we were playing there and not some 800 seat place. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it seems like the person that sacrifices what they can, not to get a picture of themselves in front of the stage with the artist in the background, but the person that's really there to engage and commune in a way.
It is commune, dude. It's a vibe between, and man, if you don't get it from them, you know that you're having a dud of a night,
Yeah.
If people aren't responding and reacting. And I'm spoiled. That Saxon Pub, that sounded so good, you get spoiled there too,
Well,
you take a guitar solo and people clap after your solo. It's like, oh, great. Then you might play somewhere the next night. It's like, hey, I'm playing the same solo. What's wrong with you people,
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have beautiful people here in Austin, man. And all the hill country, man. All around Central Texas. It's generational too, I'm playing for adults now that their parents brought them when they were kids. Now they have kids they're bringing to the gigs, and it's like it's part of their. Well, you know how it is. There's people like Joanne that goes and sees 10 shows a week. Dude,
Joanna Castillo.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I always talk about her on here.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's people like
exemplary fan.
Yeah.
All of you should be like that.
Yeah, everyone should be like Joanne. Well, you know what I mean? People that are there, I guess, for the right reasons, which is to hear music and to interact with the performer.
Yeah.
That's really the magic. And I mean, obviously I don't do it for the money, but it's all I do. That and being around the musicians is really the whole goal for me is, that interaction with people, that feeling that you get when you're doing something and you feel like it's working and you can tell it's working because they're being moved.
Right.
Either, even playing the blues and stuff and the cover bands back in Corpus, when I was about 19, I realized, if I play this guitar, this Bo Diddley beat, that girl shakes her ass to this. And if I go double time, then she starts moving double time. That was a big light bulb for me. It's like, this stuff is infecting people.
Yeah.
That she might be intoxicated and not even know that it's, but I'm in her head and,
Right.
It's interesting, man. And then you do that emotionally as well, not just physically. You do it through sad songs or happy songs. What's happened to the pandemic for me is just this big feeling of gratefulness. And it's happened a few times. I was playing with Susan Gibson down at the Redbird when I first got back to Texas. And I got choked up in the middle of a song, just moved by the moment, And poor Susan, she didn't know I was actually crying. So she tells me, "Are you crying?" Like making a joke. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm crying, man," So it's a moving thing, man. I'm glad to be back doing it,
Yeah. She's a really fucking talented person. Yeah,
I played with her a lot. We toured a lot and recorded together, and she's a real dear friend. I love her like a sister for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you came here in 91, 92 and started exploring like songwriting and doing that kind of thing, who were the guys around here that you were like, oh, that guy's cool? Who is Alejandro?
Yeah, Alejandro, John D. I still love John D. I've been seeing him every Wednesday for the last month. I go down there and see his show. Let's see, LaFave, of course. And there was a guy named Michael Sumler who was from Houston. I had this cassette of his. I guess he's still
I remember
around.
that guy.
I listened to that cassette over and over. I lived in Wilson Street Apartments over there.
Yeah.
Really sketchy place, but totally affordable and filled with musicians and writers. And I just remember having that cassette, man, no furniture and, just the that music got you through, man. It got you through. And hearing those guys write made me try to emulate that, try to get closer to, writing's hard, man. So for a while, my songs were they sucked,
Where were you showcasing them? Were you going to like the Monday night at the Cactus? Or
we played
like
at the Outhouse a lot, man, and any little gig I could do. And then the blues and the sideman stuff was still calling to work, So
you were able to.
Yeah, I was still blues sideman and stuff, and not very much though. I was really, really, really broke back then. And we'd go down to New Braunfels and play a place called Landa Station. That's where I first met Terry Hendricks and a lot of people like that, and. So really my friends, I guess, basically, the other songwriters I was being inspired by were just people who were trying to do it like me and writing. And
yeah. When did you feel like you kind of like words started getting through? Like, did you have was there a song that you wrote that somebody was like, shit, man, that's good, Michael?
I was playing, and when I moved up here, I moved back and forth a few times, like I said, and I moved to Wimberley probably in late 90s, and I got a gig playing guitar for Ray Wiley Hubbard.
Awesome.
And that's where I met Plankenhorn. We were in that band together. Ray had never heard me play before.
And he hired you.
Yeah, Lloyd Maines said, this kid plays on his feet.
He did. I was joking.
Yeah, he'd never heard me. No. Yeah, he'd never heard me, man. So Lloyd Maines kept saying, call Ray, he's looking for a guitar player. And of course, I wasn't just going to cold call Ray Wiley Hubbard and say, hey, you need to hire me, man.
Yeah.
So I never made the call. And every time I'd run into Lloyd, he'd say, have you called Ray? And I'd put my head down, no, because, I had low self-esteem, man. I didn't want to do that. Then I saw them standing next to each other one day, so I just walked up and stood between them. And Lloyd said, hey, this kid can play on his feet. You can just get him to play guitar for you. Then like a week later, I get a call from Ray, and he says he had a gig at Pootie's. He wanted me to play. And he said, do we have to rehearse? And I just said, no. And he hired me. I think if I had said, yeah, we need to rehearse, that I probably wouldn't have got the gig, So I ended up setting up the PA for him, putting a battery in his tuner, giving him a guitar pick, teaching the bass player the songs all on the first kind of gig, But it was Ray that really kind of encouraged me to I played him some of my songs, and he's like, those are good, man. And the ones that weren't good, he said, those need to work on those. So I wrote a song called Slips Through Your Fingers that I kind of was inspired by the song Tumbleweed that Tony Price did,
I don't know that song.
It's a really great one. It kind of had those changes to it, so I kind of borrowed that vibe. And I started realizing that rather than trying to write about something real cosmic and far out and out there, if I just wrote about tiny little details, a purse, a cigarette, whatever, and put those things together, then that kind of created an image and a mood. So when I finally unlocked that, that's when my writing kind of took off a little bit better, I think. Yeah.
That's interesting. I talked to Mary Gaucher a couple times actually this year, but one of the things that we talked about was there's in her book about songwriting, there's like this thing about like thinking about your lyrics as like focusing in on a scene, getting in on the smallest thing, and then pulling the camera back.
Yeah.
Pulling the camera back. I get that from your stuff too. It's
Thank
like
you,
a
man.
good description. Like you get a good, like you're a really great songwriter, and your stuff, like, but you know how to write a chorus in a way that like somebody that did listen to Captain and Tennille would want to hear rock and roll. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate that. Like I sometimes I feel like in the Americana world, or in the quote unquote singer-songwriter world, which drives me nuts that to say that that's a genre, because it's not. Mary Gaucher and James Hetfield are singer-songwriters.
Yeah, that's right.
But they're not the same.
Exactly.
But in that world, shit can get really boring. It can.
Fast.
Melodically, it can get boring.
I, me, I.
Yeah,
a lot of
or
that.
like the same kind of story of, pulling out of Laredo and heading into San Antonio. Like, someone's always leaving or
when the
going
song
to San
reads like a
Antonio.
roadmap. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. Did you ever get into any of those songwriting game things?
Yeah, I love
Early
those,
on?
man. A bunch of my songs that are on my records are out
really?
of those games. Yeah, those prompts really help me to stay honest and keep writing. And I'm a procrastinator, man. So if the song was due by 5, I'd start at 2:00 that day and try to nail something out. But you end up with some good little gems, and you can go back and rework them and turn them into songs. And I'd say quite a bit of my songs are generated from those games. Yeah.
Mine from like 2004 on, always there's a few on every record.
Yeah,
doing
it's a
that.
good thing.
Yeah.
And the prompts are good because it might be something I never would have thought of to try to write around or something, so I enjoy it a lot. I need to get back into it. I'm not into one right now, but
Whose were you doing?
Let's see. We had one with Susan and Plank and Adam Carroll and
that's a good group.
some other people that I didn't know, which I like, and I like it was people from all levels too.
Yeah.
And then I've just been in a few different ones with different friends. Yeah,
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's neat. I've heard some Bob Schneider gets from other people. Like I heard an interview with Glenn Phillips from Toad the Wet Sprocket with that Koppelman guy.
Oh, Brian Koppelman.
Brian Koppelman.
He was my guitar student for a little while. What
He
a
was?
sweet, sweet man. Yeah, I really like him
where?
a lot. On Zoom during the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It was wild because I didn't know him.
His dad just died
Oh, I hate to hear
recently.
that.
Yeah. You know who I'm talking about? Charles Koppelman?
Yeah. It's amazing where he's from and all that. And I didn't really know that when he reached out to me to teach him. We just got on the Zoom and
How did he find? You seem like someone he would like because he's
Yeah,
a huge Slaid Cleaves fan. He's
that's how we made the connection.
Hayes Carl fan.
Yeah, Slade had recommended me to him for some lessons. And,
Okay.
And the lessons weren't really about showing him where to put his hands. He wanted to talk about dynamics and theory and what chords make this feeling. And it was a different kind of teaching with him, and it was fun. It was
Interesting.
fun, yeah.
I like his mind.
Yeah, I like his mind. I like his podcast.
I love his podcast,
I'd like
yeah.
to hang out with him and get to know him better because he seems really like a sweet, intelligent person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unlike you, man. Just like you are, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God you said that.
Yeah.
I thought you were say unlike
you.
Unlike you, who are a flaming dick.
Yeah. No, a lot like you, man. Smart
Thank
and
you,
kind, man. Those two important qualities in my life, man. Smart and kind.
I honestly, I was talking to a bandmate of mine in Skyrocket this weekend, just kind of about the show, and I've been doing it for so long. There was one thing that I don't really think about very much, but I have this thing now, and I've had for a while, because I'm re-putting out my David Comey, The Attorney That Rocks one, in a couple weeks or something.
Tell me that again now. What's going on? Because that's the Billboard guy, right?
The Billboard, exactly. So what I'm saying is this podcast has afforded me this thing that one day I was driving back into town and I was looking at that billboard and I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? And I'm like, dude, I'm just going to write him and be like, hey, you want to come on my podcast?
Oh, I see.
Now, whenever I see a guy, I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? What's his deal? Come over, explain this to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Turned out that guy's just as sweet. He's
awesome.
A really lovely person. He's he had a metal band called Dharma Kings.
Okay.
He had Adam Temple was in it and stuff.
Wow.
He employed a bunch of dudes and paid them a shitload of money to
We
play,
love
which
that.
was awesome.
Yeah, we love that.
And he would doing this thing where he would go play a gig and during his set, open bar.
Wow.
Don't you wish you could do that?
Yeah.
Imagine how fucking popular you'd be.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's one of the things that I've loved about doing this is that you can just kind of see people and be like, oh, I can ask them to come over.
Yeah, thanks for asking me.
Yeah,
over,
no
man.
problem. That's what I thought. When I saw you that day, I was like, I've heard your name. I've seen you in different situations. Not orgies or anything, but rock and roll things.
Musical situations.
Yeah, musical situations where you're in playing with somebody and, oh, there's that guy again.
Yeah.
You know what I think is super cool? Can I tell you this?
Please.
I'm fascinated with people that can find a look that you could put on a stamp and it works, like Gary P. Nunn,
Yeah.
like Billy Gibbons, obviously.
Yeah.
Dude, you have a graphic on your website. Of
Yeah.
it, and I'm like, yeah, dude, that's the goal.
Oh, man. That wasn't
is
my
to
goal,
be
but thanks, man.
Just a line drawing of just the main things, and someone goes oh, Michael O'Connor.
Oh, that's
you know what I
cool.
mean? When
Yeah.
you see a thing of ZZ Top, it's cool like that.
Yeah. I had really long hair for a long time.
Saw that.
Yeah, and then so now I meet people and I have to tell them who I am. Then they realize who I am. But
What's that first record? Is it Giants from a Sleepy Town? That's the first one that's on the streaming services.
Yeah.
Unless there's more.
There's one before that called Green and Blue that Ray Wiley Hubbard produced. Yeah. There's one more.
What's going on with that one?
It's not out there on my streaming. Oh yeah.
Oh, did you not pay? Like,
Yeah.
There was one time someone was like, "Hey, where's all your shit?" I'm like, "Oh, fuck!" Looking through my emails, like the Spotify or the TuneCore, like, "Hey, you got to pay your thing."
Yeah.
We're all going to spam.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that record was fun. It was pretty much Ray Wiley's band. It was Jeff Plankenhorn, Paul Piercy.
Oh, I love Paul Piercy.
Oh, I love him too.
Glenn
man.
Fukunaga?
Yeah, Glenn and
He's the coolest.
Eamon McLaughlin on fiddle.
I don't know that guy.
And it was really cool. And it was all the guys we were working with at the time,
Yeah.
playing in Ray's band. And I felt like a guest on my own record though, because it's my first record. So I didn't, whatever they thought was
Yeah.
cool. And the lessons you learn on that record don't show up till the next record. So
The Paul Piercy, Glenn Fukunaga combo, like when I moved back here in 1990, my mom was really close friends with Mark Hallman, the guy that owned the Congress, owns the Congress. And he's my mentor. And so like he's been my guy since I was like 13. And when I moved back here in 1991, he was like, "Come live at the Congress House." So in living there and all the years that I hung out there in the 90s, that Paul Piercy, Glenn Fukunaga combo.
oh man, it's great.
It was like they were like
It's the dream team, man.
what's the Russ Kunkel and Leland Sklar of
Yeah.
like the 90s Austin.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And man, just so kind and encouraging, you know. And
yeah.
I mean, I'm not the.
Glenn's one of my favorite people that.
Oh man, me too.
That
And
ever played music.
and what a tone and one note and just always positive and beautiful. So those guys that was a big influence on me too, man. Just because, stepping out and trying to write songs and record, man, that's a hard thing to do, man. It's a lot of insecurities and it just was tough. And those guys were really cool, man. It
Yeah.
made you feel good. It made you feel like you should be doing it and you're
Yeah.
allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great. Then after that, every record I've made since then, I used Jack Saunders to produce and play bass.
Who is that guy?
He played for Shake Russell for
That's
years and
where I
years,
know
and
that
he's a
name from.
songwriter and a record producer.
Does he have a studio?
He does. It's in Bastrop, Texas,
Okay.
and it was in Houston for years. He's done Greg Trooper albums and all kinds of records. And so I get him and I get Rick Richards to play the drums, and then I just do all the overdubs, all the parts myself, whether keyboards or mandolin or guitars and that works affordably for me. And I kind of dig playing all the parts. I kind of like that for some reason. I just like doing it that way.
Yeah. I did a record. I didn't make a record like this. I just had demos, and I've always had something like a 4-track cassette or something when I was in my late teens and early 20s, and then like moving up to a thing to Pro Tools to whatever. And so once I realized I didn't want to argue with bandmates about what someone should play, and I promised them it would sound cool, I would just try and do it myself.
Yeah.
Like have a drum machine and then overdub drum stuff that I wanted on there and stuff. Just like whatever I could do to sort of like bring them the clearest thing, which is kind of a dick thing to do. But
Well, you
I've
had your
learned to
vision,
balance
right?
all that, but I did have a vision.
Yeah.
But I did do this thing where I had all these demos, and there was a label that was starting. They were like, "Oh, we'll put this out." And I went in and recorded one of the songs with a band in a studio, and it was like, ugh. Like, it sounds way better fidelity-wise, and everyone's playing everything a lot better. There's just zero vibe. There's something about that tension of someone in there with themselves.
Yeah, I enjoy it. And, you don't have to be a maestro on
No.
something to make a sound in the studio. I'm not a piano player, but if I want to play a certain thing, I
Yeah.
can go get it done,
That's how I started playing keyboards, was I just needed another sound with my 4-track.
Yeah.
I just, I had every pedal. I couldn't run any, and then, yeah. So
Yeah, it's just fun. And Jack's got a lot of great instruments, so that's always fun. And those guys, I don't tell them what to do. I'm not going to tell Rick Richards how to play the drums. I just let him do his thing. And that's kind of cool that we have this trust thing. I don't really have to show Jack my songs. He knows I'm going to have songs that we should work on. And I don't tell Rick how to play the drums. I just let him do his thing. And I trust just to see how it'll turn out, and sometimes, man, the songs aren't always like maybe what I thought, at the end of it, but I still like it. And it's a different thing, and that's okay. It's okay with me.
The last few years I've played with Chipman. Like the last 4 years.
Love
or so.
Chipman. Yeah.
God, man, he's great.
Yeah.
The one thing I've learned, and tell me if this is something that getting other guys and not telling them what to do, because you're getting those guys because you want what they do in your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have a suggestion here that I did have a guitar line, but play it like you would or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that is that something that you've learned to like, because I've let go. I don't, if I get someone like John Chipman, I send him the songs, but I don't sit behind the drums and show him what I'm trying to talk about.
Yeah, I'm hiring those guys because I love those guys, and they're better than me. They're better than theirs, so I just let them do what they do. Chipman's a perfect example of that too. I can't imagine telling John what to play,
Yeah.
unless it's just really something. But usually they've listened to the same records. They're into the same stuff. If they know you, they kind of know, or they'll come up with something that you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Thought of it. Like, Rick Richards, I can't say enough about him. He's driven by the lyrics, man, and he'll just do little things, a cymbal crash or some kind of noise that relates to
play a song,
whatever lyric
song.
I just sang, Yeah. It's interesting.
That's the most important, just so important, like drumming wise.
Yeah, guitar wise too, man. I played with Pat Byrne last night, and
how was that?
it was beautiful, man. I love that kid. I say
too.
kid because he's a kid. I realized last night I was playing gigs before he was born. So
me too, dude. That's funny.
yeah, but his songs, man. I just approached it really. I don't play to the first part of the song. I just lay out and then just add little things because it would be so easy to mess those songs up by playing too much on it, So.
That's a solo acoustic guy, singer-songwriter that is not one bit boring in any way.
Oh, man, beautiful, man.
Neither is Bonnie. I saw you played with Bonnie recently,
Yeah,
too.
it was so much fun.
Bonnie
I've known
Whitmore.
her since she was a teenager. Eleanor Whitmore, her sister, was in Susan's band and toured with Slaid. We toured together with Slaid. Eleanor was my roommate on the road.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm checking into these hotels with this beautiful young girl, like just awkward and weird. Not for us, but for the people at the check-in and stuff. So there's like my sisters. I love those girls. Yeah, super talented. And Bonnie, man, she's fire, dude.
Yeah, she's not boring at all.
No, not at all, man. She'll wake you up, dude. She's got something to say and a voice to say it.
Yeah.
It's cool to watch her. I've watched her grow and change and become who she is. It's pretty beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so do you live in Washington?
Yeah, so there's the big questions everyone asking me. So I'm a snowbird, man. I'm in Texas from March
look at you.
through October. October through March, and then when the summers hit here, I go to Washington State. Yeah.
Where in Washington State?
It's called Usk, Washington. It's a tiny, less than probably 500 people in that town. It's a logging community. 20 miles from Idaho, 30 miles from Canada. Just out in the wilderness, and we live in a little resort place with some tiny homes, and my wife has a son with 4 grandbabies up in Spokane. So
Wow!
So we are close to the grandbabies, and just
granddad.
Yeah, I'm Paps, man. That's what they call me.
That's
Paps.
cool.
So I thought Paps was a pretty good grandpa name too.
Yeah.
So we're all about that. Your priorities change as you get older, man, and family got kind of more important for both of us. So. And I don't really have any family, so that is my family.
Yeah,
man.
that's what I was going to ask you is like do you find that your appreciation of this family is way deeper because of your own family situation?
Yeah, and
up?
with my sisters, I have 2 sisters that found me on Facebook. My dad had dad had a real crazy name, man. His name was Durward Sterling Rubel was my dad's name. And there's
Where was he from?
He was from he actually was from California. And I get into my grandfather on his side that I've studied on the internet. It shows you a lot of stuff. It's a crazy, crazy story. But
where's their name from?
I think it's a German kind of thing. Fighter pilot, World War I fighter pilot or something name. But so my sisters discovered me because Facebook. I put my dad's name on there one time, and their son was Googling his dead grandfather and found me. And there's a big family resemblance. So as soon as I looked at Facebook, it was obvious that we all were related. So when I went around that family, I love my sisters. I love all those guys. But it was really weird for me, man, because they're really close and a tight-knit family. And I just wow, this is strange to me. So it's a little bit of that. Not with the granddaughters, obviously. They're children, man, and they're just full of love. But it's nothing with the families. They're all beautiful and functional and not dysfunctional. But for me, even at this age, I always feel like I'm on the outside a little bit from anything family related. It's strange to me, man, because I was, my grandparents did a good job raising me and stuff, but that kind of just hands off. There wasn't a lot of affection. They didn't really know what to do with me, And that's kind of what when I got my first guitar, I realized when I played guitar, everyone just kind of left me alone, man. So I just played my guitar all the time, you know. From come home from school, play till you went to bed, wake up in the morning, play before you go to school. Then in high school, just skip school and play guitar all day long, you know. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, the family thing's a little strange for me, man, but it's cool. I'm learning. It was softening in my old age to accept that kind of thing.
Did that make you kind of like a harder person in your 20s?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. When I talk to old girlfriends and friends that are girls, and they talk about how cold I was and how I was just distant.
Emotionally kind of shut off?
Yeah, I was. I didn't know it at the time because you're a kid, you know. But
it's funny because talking to you at the Saxon pub, I just had this overwhelming warmth from you.
Thanks, man. I try to give that. Yeah,
I really did.
Thanks, man. Well, I really
like more than even like, you know, I was like, wow, like if I'd known this guy for like a long, this is really fucking warm.
I felt the same way meeting you, man.
Yeah.
I think we've just been in the same circles, and I've listened to your show. But yeah, that's probably a survival skill, just trying to get that love and put it out. And as I get older, I'm opening up more like that for sure. Yeah,
that's great, man.
Yeah.
That's a great. This is a great. Just a great sort of like this is where you end up in like a much better place.
Yeah, for sure. When you're in your 20s, man, you know, I did a lot of drugs. And chased a lot of women, and women chased me, and I was just dumb.
Did you ever get like? Are you sober now?
No, I love marijuana, man.
Yeah, me too.
I smoke marijuana probably all the time, but
I like to say probably all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, probably all the time. But you know, I'm
that's
not
an easy one though. That's not like going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. I boiled it down to that. I had a beer last summer. I'm not against drinking or anything. I just not my thing.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff, man, I've had enough. I did plenty of that, and it was taking me nowhere. I wasted a lot. That's one thing I would tell younger players is, don't waste your time, man. That's just a waste of time, you know. If you want to experiment, cool. But don't just keep going through that same door over and over, because it's not going to do anything for your music, man. You know? So I feel like I wasted some time that I could have been writing songs or doing other things. Yeah. I
also like, you know, that Bill Hicks thing where they never talk about people having great times on drugs.
Yeah, that's a great
I also
times,
never, dude. I don't have the, I mean, cigarettes and coffee have got me.
Yeah.
They're hooks in me, and I quit smoking cigarettes, but now I'm on this still.
Yeah.
So the methadone cigarettes. And, but I feel like there's a difference. Like Plank is a great example. Like, I mean, not talking out of turn, because we actually had a talk like 10 years ago or something. He came on the show like right when he had gotten sober and everything. And I mean, I had some great times with Plank, like on, you know, doing shows with Bob Schneider and opening for him and stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the thing that he has.
Yeah, and I didn't either. You know, I have
or
a lot
that
of
Bob has.
And a lot of my friends in the music business have cleaned up, man, and I'm so thankful, because it's a drag to travel and work with people that are fucked up, you know. So yeah, I never missed gigs. I never lost my car. I never didn't pay my rent. I was a functioning user of cocaine and methamphetamine and whatever drugs I could, really whatever came down the pike. But I just got bored with it, basically, man. And just saw people, my friends were dying, and
that's the ugliness.
Having strokes, and a lot of talented, beautiful people are in the ground, man. So yeah, I got over it. And you know, as soon as you do, and you start getting cooler gigs, and people like Ray or Susan or Slaid or calling you, then man, you don't have time to, or even the desire to. But I did have a lot of fun. Yeah, man, I had a lot of fun. I mean,
I didn't have to go to a place because everything was falling apart.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
I'd have a hangover, and you know, 3 weeks would go by, and I'd be like, hey,
yeah. I just kind of got over it. And you know, if you're drinking it, if you're playing hundreds of gigs a year, and you're drinking at your gig, then man, that's a lot of booze, you know. So it was always been about playing guitar, and marijuana never affected my abilities to play or write or drive a car or have a conversation. Or
do you listen to that? Obviously, you listen to podcasts. If you listen to Koppelman and stuff like that, do you listen to the Broken Record, the Rick Rubin?
Oh yeah.
There's a great the one that's out now is with Neil Young. I was listening to it yesterday, and Neil described it best because Rick was like, what why THC? What does it do?
Yeah.
Why doesn't it take you out of the moment? Why doesn't it make you sloppy?
Yeah.
And the way he described it is exactly the way, not that I need. One thing it does is when I'm writing, it allows me to sit down and focus on one thing for so long that I'll finish it.
Yeah.
Because my mind is crazy.
Yeah.
And the other thing, it just blocks out the outside. So when he's recording, he smokes a little grass and fucking plays. And it just kind of, it takes the noise out that would interfere with you and this music thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I think you need it, but it can be an aid to silence the outside voices that keep you from being super creative.
And it makes you introspective, which is great for writing and performing. And I think it's pretty harmless. And I think a lot of my heroes all have done well and lived long lives playing music and smoking grass. So
yeah.
And hey, I learned it ain't for everyone either. It's not for everyone. Some people have really bad experiences and reactions, but for me personally,
there's only a handful of like cocaine records that I think are awesome.
Yeah. Boy, some of them you can hear the cocaine. Even in the mix, you can just hear it sounds like cocaine.
Do you know what Hallman told me? Because I asked him, I was like, why did that? Like, what was it? He was like, first of all, the brittleness in the 80s that came in, like this kind of high end. That was like this different kind of high end that's like,
yeah.
First of all, digital technology came in. Second of all, that let you explore those highs and lows that you couldn't in analog, right? But he also said that like one of the first things to go when you're doing blow is the high end in your hearing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah. Ask any monitor man who's worked for people that, do the sound check and then come back and then the gig is different because it's throwing all your stuff off, man.
Yeah. So weird.
And it messes with my tempo, man. I can't get in the groove.
Messes with my pitch.
Yeah. Pitch, all that. It messes with everything, man. Yeah. Whereas
I took an Adderall once, like 14 years ago from somebody, and before a gig, because I was like, I'm so tired, man, I'm not gonna make it, man, and I don't want to drink Red Bull, and this coffee's gonna make me want to poop, and can't really do a 3-hour gig like that. She's like, oh, check this out. And so I took it. That made me, I fucked with my pitch too.
Yeah. I think anything that kind of takes you out of it is not good.
There's nothing worse than being conscious of the fact that you're having a hard time finding your pitch.
The worst, man.
Because then you start moving around like a fucking weirdo.
Yeah,
you don't know
even
what you're doing.
Finding the tempo, man. I mean, when you're off, that's torture, dude.
There's nothing worse than that feeling of the song being one step ahead of you.
Oh, it's awful, man.
Yeah,
it's awful.
It's awful.
I hate that feeling. Yeah,
awful.
Yeah, it's just breathe and relax, and you find it, But
I meant to say something earlier. When I saw the album cover of Giants from a Sleepy Town, I thought you were going to sound like 90s Ian Moore.
Oh, yeah?
Like there's like a very, like the hair and the guitar, and there's like, oh, he's going for it.
Yeah, I think there's one electric guitar on the whole record.
I know. Yeah. I was kind of shocked because I was expecting something different.
Yeah, I kind of do album covers like I do recording. I don't tell the person really what I want to do. I just, let them do it. As a friend of mine, Charlotte, did most of those covers.
Did she do the Burning Midnight one?
No, a guy named Michael Waters did that cover
I love that
for
one.
me. Yeah, he's a great musician here in town and a brewmeister.
Did you do those singles?
I did the art for the singles.
Okay, yeah. That looks, the album that I made, that was my demos.
Yeah.
I did this same kind of thing.
I think I'm going to do that more, man. I kind of like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of a full circle. Yeah, I did those. And I didn't do them for those songs. That's just some stuff I had done. And when I was putting the singles out, I just started looking through some of my art books and like, oh, this will work for this one and this will work for that one.
Yeah. I saw you put a Rilke quote recently, last couple of days.
Yeah, just yesterday.
Birthday?
Yeah. I don't know. It just came up, and I like to share Rilke and Bukowski every once in a while. I'll just share some.
It's a couple of different guys.
Yeah, but really, a couple of different, but not
right.
Yeah, the message of finding the light and all that stuff is the same. They're just two totally different approaches of getting there, obviously, and two completely different approaches to writing as well. Obviously,
Bukowski, like reading. I have to do it like in bits because I really do just want to go drink.
Yeah.
And welcome my disaster.
Yeah.
The disaster that I am.
Yeah, I think people do have that. He has that effect on people. Yeah. And that's not, I think that's funny and cool. But
Thompson has that too, like that kind of effect where you're like, I just want to let go and just go as fast as I can and just like take it all in and just say it like as it's happening. So it's like a little like it has this weird energy to it.
Well, and that's what we were talking about earlier. Like when I first moved here and lived in Wilson Street, and I was really poor, but man, there's a freedom to that ride a little bit that's interesting, man. And you are a free person, and it's a tightrope, you know.
Are you a journaling person?
I'm not. To be honest, I'm not right now. And I really should be.
Too, yeah.
But I was doing the 3 pages for a while, just get up in the morning.
Pages? Yeah. That
really helps me just clear my brain, man. You know, when I go back and read them, I'm pretty much complaining and bitching about things. So I think if I can write that down in the morning and get past it, go on with your day, you know.
Yeah.
So. And I go back and read about a page and a half in, I'll usually find some little nugget or some idea that will sprout into a song on there. You know?
Yeah. That's funny, man.
Are you journaling right now?
Not right now. No.
Yeah.
No, I should though.
I should be too.
I feel like I'm way more prolific of a songwriter when I'm journaling.
For sure. I feel the same way. Yeah.
Do you do a lot of co-writing with people?
I do, man. I write a lot co-writing.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I get off on it. I like it.
Me too.
I like having two brains. I like having two ideas. I like surrendering my direction. I've written a lot with Jeff Blankenhorn.
Yeah.
Adam Carroll and me have written probably 20, 30 songs together. And that's a really fun person to write with, man.
Yeah.
And so I really like to co-write. I have a buddy, Jason McIntyre, who just moved uptown. We've written a bunch of songs. So if someone has a riff, it's cool to run with it. Or if I just have something that's a good idea there, but it's not, you know, Jeff will challenge my lyrics a lot, and I like that, man. That's good, because I'll be saying, you know, I don't know, long, lonely road, and he'll say no, and we'll have to find another way of saying that, and it's always better, you know?
Yeah. I've written some stuff with Jeff. He's great. Yeah,
he's a musical talent, man. Yeah, man, I can't say enough about him. Yeah, we've been friends for a long time. We met in Ray Hubbard's van on the way to a gig to play a trucker convention in Dallas, and on the way there, Ray's like, you guys know any trucker songs? It's like, yeah, man. So we get there, and Jeff's playing, and the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders come down the escalator all in their regalia, you know.
Holy
shit.
And
Jeff's been in Texas maybe half hour, you know. Ray just says, welcome to Texas, Jeff. We all started laughing, but we were fast friends from that day on.
That's awesome. Yeah. Dude, last year I went to dinner with these people, and they're a couple super nice people. And this girl's like, oh, I'm from Dallas. I'm like, oh, really? She's like, yeah. Do you seem like you're the same age? Do you ever know the Deep Blue Something guys? I'm like, yeah. And I'm really, really close to one of them. And I'm like, yeah, that guy. She's like, oh yeah, I used to work with his wife. And I was like, you're a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader? She's like, yeah, I was. And like, to somebody like our age, meeting a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader is like,
yeah, it's a big deal.
I can't even think like the president or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, fuck, man, this is like, you were not when I was into them, but she wore the uniform. Yeah. Then you hear how horrible those jobs are.
Oh man, there's a podcast out.
There is?
Yeah. A former cheerleaders talking about some of that stuff. Yeah.
I have a friend that lives out in Kerrville, and she was a Patriots cheerleader.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
It's the dynamic of
$14 a game or whatever. Wow. It's not even, that's like $50 or something. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It covers your parking. Is there anything you're listening to now that you like? Anything that's come out this year? Because this is going to come out in this end of the year phase. Yeah. Let's see. Anything get you?
Well, I've been listening to Pat Byrne because I've been learning his songs to play with him, and I really dig that. And Slaid's got a new record that's coming out. I've been learning those songs because I've been doing a lot of Slaid gigs this month too. Yeah. So those are some obvious ones.
So he goes to you or Scrappy, or he goes to Scrappy to you? What's the deal? Because I know Scrappy's been out with him a lot.
Yeah, I think they just kind of break it up and mix it up. I toured with Slaid for like 11 years. We went all over the place together. I think they just use some different guys to kind of break it up they've been on the road a long time, so they kind of know it's good to give people breaks and bring other people in. And I think for the listeners too, just have some different players. And
are you a fan of Scrappy's?
Oh, I love Scrappy Judd, man. Yeah, I was a fan of his. You know, that's what's really cool is Scrappy and John D and a lot of these people, I really looked up to those guys, man, and I was fans of those guys. And now that they're my friends and we play music together and stuff, that's pretty cool for me. Yeah, it's really great.
Scrappy is a very special.
No doubt about it.
I did my last EP with him.
I would love to do something with Scrappy. We've talked about it before. I think it would be really cool, man.
I think you guys would agree on everything.
Yeah, I think we would too. Yeah.
I don't know if anything would.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be super fun.
Yeah.
But like he's Stones and Faces 100%.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll hear him say something that's like, oh, that's kind of what the lick I would have played. You know, just like, not that I play like Scrappy, but we went to different schools together, I think.
Yeah. It's funny. So you've been, I need to get Slaid on the show.
Yeah, man, he would love it.
So, you know what's sad is Jo Carol Pierce, did you know her?
Yeah, I didn't know her, but I know who she is, of course. It's very sad.
Passed away.
Yeah.
And she was my friend, but I never had her on. She's a very, she has such a different sort of, obviously, view. And I remember doing a show with her and Scrappy and Troy Campbell at Mucky Duck in the late 90s or early 2000s or something. The four of us me, Scrappy, and Troy drove down there, but we played with Guy, Juke, and with Jo Carol. And there was some friends of mine that came to the show, and like they just didn't get it.
Man,
that was just fucking like almost disturbing. And I was like, yeah, that is awesome.
That's exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You get scared as you get older. You're not going to be able to like bum people out or scare them. Yeah. And people were like I think the first song she played was "Has God got us by the twat or what?" And everyone was just like,
"Yeah, that's awesome."
Just, lady in her 50s singing this tune.
Well, what's the Woody Guthrie quote about disturbing the comfortable and comforting the disturbed? That's the job. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah, I think better to get their attention and disturb them to just be wallpaper and never thought of again. I think good for her, man.
Yeah.
No, I was a big fan and inspired and moved, and it's sad. It's a sadder world without her for sure, man.
Yeah. So what are you doing like for the rest of the thing? I was looking at your calendar. You got some stuff coming up, but not like this last couple of weeks.
I got here for the Dripping Springs Songwriter Festival beginning of October, and I've been slammed, man.
Yeah,
busy.
Looking through like your Instagram and shit, it looks like since I saw you on Halloween, you've just been playing gigs.
Yeah, man, I'm so lucky and fortunate, man. Yeah. I don't take it for granted. I'm grateful. I don't pick up the phone and hustle, man. I've never been one of those guys to try to book gigs or hustle gigs. I kind of just play and go hang out and be around. And so, man, these are just relationships I've had from being around for all these years. The Slades and the Susans and Carrie Sweeney and Plankenhorn and just whoever. So, no, my schedule's kind of lightening up right now till, and I think I got a few things.
Do you go up for Christmas or what do you do for Christmas?
I'm not a big Christmas fan, man. So I'll just kind of probably hang out that day and watch movies and smoke weed and eat some good food.
That's what I do, but I do a family thing, and then Christmas morning, traditionally, I do the quick breakfast and then come home and just chill out. Yeah,
I never got into it. Just dysfunction in my family. My parents would say they were going to show up and never show up and shit. So it ain't my bag. Yeah. So,
do you ever go through therapy?
No, I need to, man. Do you know someone good?
Yeah, no.
I probably should.
Well, you know what I found? I went through a therapy. Like I like my weird trip is when I was a teenager, my mom was murdered, and it was like an unsolved.
I did not know that
thing
Johnny.
For a long time.
Wow, Johnny.
And
Johnny.
Well, we all have a thing, right?
Yeah, that's a thing, man.
Yeah, and I went to a regular therapist for a while, and then the Sims Foundation was like, "Have you ever gone to see a trauma specialist?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "Fuck, dude."
That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, you can find someone that kind of specializes in. I'm sure there's one out there that does.
Sims is wonderful, man. They've helped so many of my friends, man. It's a wonderful, and I see changes in my friends. It's beautiful.
Oh, God, yeah.
No, man.
Did you ever know him?
Sims? No, I didn't. I knew who he was.
He was rad, dude.
Yeah, I could tell. Yeah. That was sad.
When I was in that band, Mr. Rockababy, there was two singers, me and this other guy, and whatever party was happening in that 93, 94 era, it was always the party ended up me, Kyle, Sims, and this guy Richard like in a corner, like smoking weed and giggling and talking about Kiss. You know? So those guys are crazy Kiss guys. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, man, maybe you can find someone that, you know, Sims, tell them.
Yeah, man.
Do you qualify for it even though you're...
I don't know.
Do they do snowbirds?
I have to check into that. I have an address here. Maybe it'll work out. Yeah, I haven't, and I need to probably... I've let a bunch of that stuff go, man. I'm a pretty happy person.
You seem like that.
Yeah, and you know, when I was younger, man, I carried all that with me, man.
I did too. I did too.
Just carried it around.
It's awful.
Yeah, and I just finally one day just decided to set those bags down, man. And being around other healthy people and talented people, you know, it changes your perspective. And having grandbabies changes your perspective too, man. It takes you out of yourself a little bit, and so yeah,
that's the part of it. That's the goal, is to be able to get out of yourself. And as you get older, get further. Like I have a dad that's gone further and further in, and he's just like this awful.
It's sad when they're older, and you know that it gets harder and harder to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about everything. I'm a pretty happy person. I swore I wasn't going to say a bunch when I got on your show.
I say that all the time. Sometimes I go back and listen to it. I stop listening to it because I can't stand my eyes. But it's normal. It also, by the way, just real quick, if you watch like people on television,
they all do it. Yeah.
If they don't have a script in front of them and they're just talking, they say
Yeah.
It's a natural thing to say.
For sure.
You know Paul Ovesi?
Mm-mm.
You know, he used to own Momo's, and now he owns Cosmic Coffee.
Okay.
Susanna Schoffel's.
Okay, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Man, I first started that podcast. They were living in New York, and I went up there to play a gig, and we went to dinner, and the first thing he said is like, dude, I can't even get through one of your episodes because you say so much. Susanna hit him and was like, stop it, man. Come on. Yeah, and ever since then, like every time I hear myself saying, I want to call Paul and be like, why did you do that to me? You gave me a complex, like in 2011.
You're in my head, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how people can say stuff and you think about it for years to come, you know.
What did I ask you?
Oh, I was just talking about mental health, I guess.
Yeah.
I put a lot of that stuff down. I carried it around for a long time, and I just realized, you know, it's a gift. It's a blessing and a curse, because everything that happens to you makes you who you are, you know.
Yeah.
So can't pick and choose, you know. And I've had a pretty good, exciting life. I've met a lot of cool people, a lot of my heroes. I've traveled around the world playing. So I really can't complain about the result, you know.
Of course. Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be the people we are.
Yeah.
There's sort of a thing about like I'm very into parents supporting their kids, but like my dad was so avidly against me being a musician and was so mean about it that like bullying and stuff like that. I'm always like, well, I mean, I know it's bad, but
some fuel for your fire.
It gives you
man.
some determination to really, you're going to come back and like, but it doesn't make the healthiest people.
No, I think the lesson to learn is not carry it around for another 30 years, man. You know, just go through it. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah. It's okay that it happened, but don't relive it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, man, you really exude warmth.
Thanks.
And so
bro.
whatever sort of thing you've been through and challenged yourself to rise to, you've risen to.
Oh, thank you, Johnny. Thanks,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anybody be like, oh, God, that guy's just a pain in the ass. Everyone just says nice things
Let's
about you.
see. I'm sure there's been my moments, man.
Oh, hey, so when this comes out, you'll be doing Thursday the 29th at the Continental Club Gallery. Are you doing that? Is that right?
I guess.
From your website.
I think I'm going to be.
Bonnie? Again?
I think it's with Barbara Nesbitt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just met her the other night. We played a gig with Ben at the El Mercado. I hadn't met her before.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun, man. Yeah.
I love Ben. He's cool.
Yeah, they're all
She's
great.
super cool.
She's a lot of fun. Yeah, she sings beautiful. What a beautiful voice, man. Yeah.
You know, what's Stephanie, right? Who's the bartender there?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. So I had done one of those Thursdays with Bonnie, and then I did one with Barbara. And in the middle of the one with Barbara, I asked her to marry me, and then Stephanie yelled out, "That's what you said to Bonnie last time you played here."
Hey, well, you're just asking. Bonnie didn't say yes.
It's, from what I understand, it's a game of numbers.
Yeah. All right. I like your style, man. I like your style. Yeah, and I'll be doing that. And there's a Corpus Christi Songwriter Festival happening that month. I'll be down
cool.
there. A lot of people from here go down there and play it.
Oh yeah.
And then in March, me and Plankenhorn we're putting a record out. We went to Gabe Rhodes' studio and
That's my dude.
set up 4 microphones and just played live for,
No shit.
yeah, maybe 1 or 2 takes on each song.
Just the two of you guys?
Just 2 of us, yeah. So it's got bumps and clicks and flat notes, and we didn't do anything. We just like if we were hanging out in a room, we actually did it that way. So we're going to put that out. It's called Nothing to Prove. And we'll put that out in March, and we have a bunch of Texas dates me and Jeff Plankenhorn are going to do together, yeah.
I love working with Gabe. I work with him a lot.
I trust him.
He's one of my best friends.
Yeah, I love Gabe too. We did a record with Adam Carroll called Hard Times about 10 or 12 years ago. And
Out at his mom's?
Yeah, man. And that's when I fell in love with Kimmy.
Yeah, me too.
She would bring little trays of food out to
Yes!
us. And, and just like my mom abandoned me, right? So there's Kimmy. I'm like, oh.
Me too!
I love you.
I know.
Oh, my gosh. You're perfect, And she's so sweet and fun.
And she's willing to do it.
Yeah, she's beautiful. And I just love Gabe right away. He'd been playing some with Susan Gibson as well. So that's how we met. And but boy, in the studio with him, it was just fast and fun and creative and just go for it kind of thing. I love that.
I wonder if what Gabe felt like while he was doing that, because as a guy that's a guitar player too, there must have been some kind of like, I want to, not like I can do it better, but like that I want to do it too. Come on, you guys.
Yeah, he ended up playing piano and bass and ukulele and little bells and chingles and stuff, yeah.
Because I was trying to think of myself in that situation. I was like, shit, it's just the two of them. I'd be like, hey, man, I got a hand drum.
Oh, on the Plankenhorn stuff. No, he didn't. He just let us do our thing, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. On the Adam Carroll record, he definitely jumped in and did a bunch of stuff. Yeah, Gabe, man. I love working with him.
Me too.
So I'm excited. I haven't listened to that recording a bunch.
That's where I went when the power went out during the great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a scary time.
Snowpocalypse.
I was down in Rockport when that was going on, and yeah, that was scary.
Sorry, what were you going to say about that?
Just that, Gabe just lets us go for it, and it was just a lot of fun. He's a good dude.
What's the status on a new Michael O'Connor album?
That's next on my cooker, probably to start trying to do that. I went in last fall and laid down like 4 songs to the click, just acoustic guitar. Excuse me, with Jack. And so when my schedule lightens up here next week and into January, I'll probably try to finish some songs and write some songs and get in with Jack. And what I like to do is get about 10 of them down just with a rough guitar, and then I'd leave it and let him and Rick do. I don't know, I'm not even there when him and Rick do their parts.
Okay.
Then I go back into overdubs. So yeah, probably, I'll be working on something over the next few months, and then maybe who knows when I'll put it out or how I'll put it out. I don't know what to do anymore,
No one does.
Yeah. So I think recording and sharing it is what we do.
Yeah.
Other than whether we press it on CDs or vinyl or what we connect it to. I don't know. My pressings have just gotten smaller and smaller, of course, with CDs. It seems ridiculous to even have them now.
I haven't put out a CD since 2009.
Yeah. I just print up a few hundred of them and people buy them, but I don't know. I don't have a CD player,
I do.
So I'm making a format of something I don't even have, so I don't know. But I try to just blow that off.
They don't come in computers. Nobody has a CD player anymore.
So
Everyone just
ridiculous.
listens to music through a little tiny speaker.
Yeah. I do like being able to release singles like that on the streaming,
Yeah.
and not have to have a whole record. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
But it's nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody does. I actually just saw an interview with Metallica. They just put out a song, and they just put it out last week. They just put it out. Like you didn't know it was coming. You didn't know they'd been in the studio. They're just like, here's a song. And they were talking about it, and Lars Ulrich was saying that, he's like, you can get together with your people and meet about what you're going to do 3 months from now, but when 3 months comes, it's a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just like, we just, like, how much do you need to know that we're going to give you a song? Like, just here's a song. Just hear it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I think it's important. I mean, if you could make some singles and just be putting something out all the time, I think is the way to do it. I put mine last Burning Midnight out and did one little tour or a little run, and then pandemic started, you know, it was like the record just kind of felt like it didn't get a good shot, you know.
Yeah.
So, but that's not really why I do it. I do it because I like to record and I like to write songs and I like to do it.
Yeah.
I think if no one was hearing it, I would still probably write and record for myself at least. So I just keep moving forward and keep trying, you know. I'm not overly concerned. I never did this to be famous, man, or be a star. I just didn't want to have to work. And I wanted the people that I thought were cool to think I was cool. And that's basically what I maybe I should have set my goals a little higher, but I've achieved my goals. I'm comfortable and I like to play and I like to record. And
I mean, when I set out to do this, I was definitely going for Bono. Like, look out, Bono, I'm coming for you, bitch.
Good for you, man. Yeah. Good for you.
But it is sad as you go on to have to lower your, but once you do, like, you're just like, you know, it's more comfortable. Although I will say I'm far less productive when there's no pressure to be me.
I didn't write at all hardly through the pandemic. I wrote some co-writes with people because they would reach out. And I would, I got to say no. But as far as myself, I realized, oh man, I write songs with the idea that I'm going to perform them from somebody, you know, and traveling around and performing gives me fuel to write my songs. So it was a weird time, you know.
Well, so, I mean, this is for somebody that's worked like you have, and you have these times in your life where you've done 340 shows in a year or something like that, and then you've gone on for years just playing, and it's not like you've had the luxury of being able to take any time off. It's like me, just like most of us in this hand-to-mouth hand-to-mouth, man, rock and roll world, that like when that shit stopped, there were some of us that had never known what that was like for over 30 years.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was like to not go play gigs.
Not be in motion.
And this sounds really sad, but not to be in motion. That's really true, man.
You stop moving.
Yeah. And it sounds sad, but it's true. You know, like when I was a kid out of high school, digging ditches or whatever I was doing, no one came up to me at the end of the job and said, man, great job. You're fantastic. We love everything you do. No one said that, you know?
No, you're right.
And when I sat around during the pandemic, no one came up to me and said, hey, great. And it sounds shallow, man, but it is important, man, to get that feedback and feel that. For me, it's validation that I'm looking for, I guess. So to sit around and not have anyone tell you that they are moved or they enjoyed it or good job, or that's weird, man. It was just weird. You know? I did a lot of teaching online. I taught a lot of guitar lessons.
Do you do that still?
As soon as I started playing all these gigs, I stopped doing it for a little while, but I was surprised. I won't name names, but I had a lot of songwriters and a lot of people that I looked up to take lessons from me. It was kind of cool to teach these other people. Just, you know, they're great writers, but they may only know a few chords or just have one little gear that they're in. So it was fun to help them out, you know? Yeah.
Or even like somebody like Brian Koppelman coming to you to find out, you know, dynamics in music and
and theory and stuff. Yeah, it was really cool. And then when I learned about his history and stuff, that was pretty cool, man. Yeah.
He was an A&R guy for a long time, right?
Yeah,
He writes
Fast Car, Tracy Chapman.
Right.
That's his big find, I think.
Oh, so he was like a Krasnow Electra guy.
Yeah.
Krasnow Electra guy, nothing like it. Sarah Hickman was a Krasnow Electra girl.
Wow.
A Krasnow era.
Yeah.
Krasnow era. You know, I once got to be fortunate enough at a thing for WEA, the Warner Electric Atlanta group, a long time ago, and I got to meet Jack Holtzman. You know who that is? The guy that started Elektra Records.
Okay, cool.
Started it with his bar mitzvah money.
Glamorous label, man.
And he really, like, I mean, that guy, like, those records, like, when he first started that label, like, he was signing, like, fucking the Stooges and the Doors and fucking what was the other Detroit band that was real weird?
MC5.
MC5. I mean, like, yeah, it just
that label changed from that as it went on. Then it did other things. Yeah.
But even that Fast Car era, like what they were doing during that time was pretty adventurous.
Well, that song when that came out, that was like, wow, this is like modern day blues music. Yeah. This is so cool, man, and such a personal. That was pretty inspiring. Thinking back on that, actually, I was deep into playing blues gigs back then, and that song made me go like, wow, man.
Yeah.
Listen to that. Listen to what she's saying.
Yeah.
And that movement in the the yearning and stuff. That was cool, man.
It's funny that came out, and then I think the Indigo Girls big tune and 10,000 Maniacs was happening. Yeah, I think that there was like a part of America or the world that was just like, we cannot take another fucking drum machine.
Yeah.
Digital delay, fucking.
The pendulum swings that way back and forth, I think, right?
Yeah.
Thing goes so extreme, and then.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we ended up, I think, ultimately with like grunge and Appetite for Destruction and shit like that. Like, people were just ready for something that wasn't.
And it's not like that music doesn't exist. It's just not. Everyone's not hearing it. You know, there's music being played right now that we don't know what's happening. You know, so it's not that it's a new music. It's just been brought out to the public. You know.
I stand by that thing that like there isn't like music, like maybe in the mainstream, what's happening musically is not what I'm looking for. Yeah. But I think there's more music that's like better than ever. There's more great music being made than ever.
For sure.
And there's more terrible music being made than ever. But that's what you got.
Everyone's got a shot more than ever.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started out, just to record somewhere was, how are we going to do that? How do we do that?
You have to save money and get a guy and get your shit together because you couldn't go in there and, fuck around.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember all my first recordings were like in Baytown or something in some weird studio. You had like 6 hours to get as many songs down live as you could.
Yeah. Yeah, or someone had built the studio. I was always quick to like, hey, let me just get your sounds.
I'll be the guinea pig.
I did that a lot, And not to get the recordings, but more for me just to learn how to
be in the studio. Because that whole putting on headphones and singing, the first few times you do that, thank God I had like 4 tracks and shit like that.
Yeah, I had a friend, Ron Lockerini, who was a old sound man and worked with everyone, and he had a studio in Corpus, and that's what I was doing for him. So by the time I did get to work with Glenn and Paul and Ray, I knew how to count in a song. I knew how to. Yeah. I was so thankful that I'd spent that time doing that, because I did not want to be that guy in the studio that was hired all these pros and then can't do the count or can't. Yeah.
Remember the cowbell click?
Yeah.
I've changed that. Like I changed that in the 90s. I said just bring in a drum machine and just be like, just put that on one track. Like, well, that's not going to work as a click. And you're like,
oh, it looks better as a click.
I cannot do a cowbell banging in my fucking head.
But give me a groove. Yeah. Even a drum machine with a backbeat. Yeah, that's how I do it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I was in a studio recently. It will remain nameless, and the dude threw up a click, and it was a donk, 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 and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. It feels like the school mom's just knocking you on the knuckles.
Yeah, it's a weird trip to be under. Dude, is there? I love talking to you, and I feel like now we're just hanging out.
Yeah. Same.
Which is good.
Yeah.
But anything I'm leaving out that you want to let people to know, real quickly?
No, I've been working with some veteran groups over the years that I'm pretty proud of. Challenge America and Soldier Songs and Operation Song, where we write with veterans and record their music.
Just Dustin Welch's.
Dustin does some of those with Soldier Songs. Yeah, there's different organizations doing it, and so I'm just real proud of that. It's pretty exhausting and emotionally, it's tough, but that's something I'm proud of. That
rewarding.
I'm doing that. Yeah, it's rewarding for them and for me, and I always leave just grateful again for my situation.
Yeah.
And so that's something I'm proud of. And, I'm around playing gigs, man. I love to see everyone. And, if you need a guitar player, let me know.
Yeah. You can find them at mocmusic.com.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah. I like that you're a guitarist, songwriter, traveler.
That's my deal.
Pretty awesome.
That's what I do. Yeah.
All right, dude. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you, Johnny.
Gang, that was Michael O'Connor. What a fantastic conversation. Get out there and check out his music, his latest record, Burning Midnight. You can find him at mocmusic.com, and you can see him this Thursday night, December 29th, at the Continental Club Gallery with the amazing, lovely, and talented Bonnie Whitmore at 8:30 p.m. Go to MOC Music for all of your Michael O'Connor needs. Don't forget that you can subscribe to this podcast, and you will get a new show every Tuesday and every Friday. Sometimes we do From the Vault. Okay, so I didn't release a show this last Friday, but I told you the story at the beginning. You can see why I didn't. I just got bogged down with stuff and I didn't put out a show. New shows every Tuesday and every Friday. Sometimes we release it From the Vault. Thank you so much for listening to the show. You can find us wherever you listen to music or podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher, all the places, okay? Have a great, great week. Don't forget to go see Michael O'Connor on December 29th. And if you live in Houston, get your tickets for Skyrocket at Last Concert Cafe, doing a special early New Year's Eve show. All right? Have a great week. Let's get down.
Pour cold water flat above the bar. Old man raising a family on the other side of town. Made his way across the tracks once the sun went down. Me and my brother, not enough to eat. Beer-filled baby bottles rolling in the backseat. Left us parked in the alley in the Texas heat. Well, that woman must have been insane, living in the hurricane. Tossed about like so much trash, till Grandma saved us from the CPS. 'Cause there was parties down in Houston, down in New Orleans. Mama always traveled light once she hit the street. Come around in the middle of the night, waking every neighbor bound to start a fight. Screaming about her babies in the front porch light, with that shit running through her veins, living in the hurricane. Learned to make a fist when I was 5 years old. Squeeze the anger to a red hot coal. Forgiveness ain't a gift for someone else. The only one you burn is gonna be yourself. Lightning in my heels since I hit the road. I got the call, she was gone and buried in a hole. When I find myself humming in the neon glow, well, the road goes stumbles through my brain, living in the hurricane.